Hello, welcome to The View from Here. I'm Ian Brown. I'm of two minds about how to introduce tonight's film, I, Curmudgeon, by Alan Zweig. I don't know if I should begin by saying that it's documentaries like this that prove what I've always said, that the world is a totally screwed up place. On the other hand, maybe I should say that I, Curmudgeon, is one of the most positive, life-affirming films I've ever seen. Either way, Alan Zweig's going to see the worst in my introduction, because Alan Zweig is a curmudgeon. He can't help but be negative. But he's also a brilliant, very funny filmmaker, which is why tonight's movie is so watchable. Only an Alan Zweig, and thankfully there is only one Alan Zweig, could make a 2-hour documentary about the human compulsion to see life in its worst possible light. The sunny side of the street is not where these folks stroll, and believe me, you know them. They may even live in your own house. Zweig introduces us to all kinds of them, from Fran Lebowitz, the 20th century's answer to Oscar Wilde, to Harvey Picard, the cartoonist/philosopher/depressive. People whose ability to see the glass half empty knows no bounds. But why are they like that? This is where I, Curmudgeon, gets even better, or should I say worse. Is it something that happened when they were kids? Because they're more profound than everyone else? Because everyone else is a Pollyanna and an imbecile? Because that's what a lot of them think about a lot of us. Alan Zweig investigates all of this. Of course, in doing so, he's inadvertently made something he must hate. A film so optimistic, it tries to find an answer to one of the most profound and unanswerable dilemmas of the human condition. I just hope he does the sequel.
The following program contains coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Once upon a time, there was a boy. Once upon a time, there was a very naive 25-year-old man who grew into a very bitter 50-year-old man. Certainly 47. When I turned 47, I was still very bitter, okay? Anyway, I've come to see my life as divided into 3 acts. I haven't always thought this way. A few years ago, my life changed. And when I looked back on essentially my adult life up until that point, I realized that those 4 years really resembled a classic second act. You can think of those years as, the years when everything fell apart, but these days I basically think of them as the bitter years. At the end of the first act, I finally found something I loved, and I thought, maybe this could be what you do with your life. Immediately, I had a little bit of success. Why does it work so perfectly as a second act? Because there was a little bit of success to suck me in, and then after that, it was just downhill. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for years and years and years and years and years. Nothing ever added up. The thought that it wasn't working out was never, ever far away from me. It was always there to remind me, you're not anywhere near where you want to be. This is crap. Anyway. Somewhere in my early 30s, people started calling me a curmudgeon, or they said I was negative. I never used those words myself. So when people applied these words to me, I just thought, I'm funny. You have no sense of humor. I also thought, you're missing the point. It's not me, it's the world. Anyway, as the second act was coming to an end, I thought, I gotta stop this. I gotta give up. And then I got lucky, and my whole life seemed to change. and I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. And when I examined what that weight was, I discovered that it wasn't the weight of all those years of failure. No, I'd become bitter. If you want to hate the world, there's a lot to hate. The thing is, though, when I hated the world, when I thought the world was shit, I also thought my life was shit. And my life wasn't shit. So now it's the third act of my life, and it feels like my job is to figure out what was the fallout from all that bitterness. I'm trying to get some advice on what level of negativity, assuming I could shave it down.
Right.
How far down? Should I shave it?
Your negativity.
My negativity. So I'm just trying to see what other people feel about their negativity.
I don't think what I say, it's couched in negative terms, but I'm not negative. I'm a very, very, very frustrated optimist. Very frustrated optimist. Although I would say, yeah, I think the world's fucked completely. I think it's, a hellhole, the way that, and I think our culture is leading the way. But it's not that far ahead because every other culture is really fucked too. So I think sometimes the faster we blow ourselves up, the better.
I don't mean this as psychoanalysis, just how far back do you remember?
Hating everything?
Yes. You must have met people who are like, oh my God, you're too negative, you're too grumpy, you're too complaining.
Yeah. So?
Well, did it ever make you, I can't believe you never had any kind of maybe I should modify this, maybe I should change, maybe.
Yeah, I think about it.
Okay, well, can you say more than you think about it?
Well, I sometimes try, but stuff keeps on popping up.
Curmudgeon to me connotes an older person, and I'm not willing to concede to that category yet.
Gadfly?
What is the actual dictionary definition? Because I think it's more sophisticated, like Noel Coward would be a gadfly. One of various large flies as a horsefly. An irritating, bothersome individual. Oh. Well, I don't up to that. I mean, what's wrong with being irritating and bothersome?
I get the word difficult a lot. You're very difficult. Why do you have to be so difficult all the time? I get it from my family, classmates, when I went to school, in environments where I had to work, where, people would ask me something and they didn't like my answer. And I said, well, if you didn't want to hear my answer, then why'd you even ask?
I'm the most negative person I know in Chicago. I'm sour and I'm angry and I'm bitter and I brood. Yeah, it's mostly disappointment in people being let down. I just keep ratcheting down my expectations till I think they're zero, and then I have to lower them another notch.
You said the thing about people are not like snowflakes, each individual. People are a dime a dozen.
I think they've fallen in value. Since I wrote that a long time ago. I feel people have actually fallen in value since then. They're like a dime a million.
There's a great Bob Dylan line, you just want to be on the side that's winning. That's basically true of people in general. They want to be on the right side. So what's in it for the average person to make fun of Les Mis? I think that people who do what I do have this Cassandra-like power in that we see things that other people can't say before the people see them. I was way ahead of the curve on the Gypsy Kings thing. It was just that, as soon as I heard these guys, it's are you enjoying this? Because you're going to be listening to this in every restaurant for the next 20 years, or Riverdance, or a lot of things. You can see that early and you just say, this is going to be a very, very bad thing.
It's like a comfort to run into a person who doesn't, when you say, how are you doing, say, I'm fantastic, you know? I'm doing this, I've got this coming up, I've got this success and this success and this, and on one hand, I'm happy for you, but on the other hand, go fuck yourself. Like, take your fucking happy, you know, take it out of my kitchen, you know? Like,
I don't really consider myself negative as much as everybody I know considers me negative, so I'll assume that they're correct.
What are they talking about?
Everything. And there's very little, I think, that they would say of my behavior patterns that wouldn't be considered negative. You know, I mean, they say, want to go see this movie? I'll say, I heard it was a piece of shit. And they say, nice weather today, isn't it? I'll say, it could be better. You know? A lot of it is just me being a smart ass. I'll take shots at things I probably shouldn't take shots at, even, just because that's the kind of person I am. And they interpret that as me being a negative person. There are people who are just negative, but they're probably closer to depression. I'm not really the depression side of negative. I'm just the asshole side of negative. You know, I think there's a bit of a difference. You know,
I think there's all sorts of minor reasons why people might call me, I don't know, say a curmudgeon. But I think that what it all boils down to is that I articulate dissatisfaction with some consistency and regularity. Is there any part of it that I would like to give up? No. I wouldn't like to.
Okay. This is essentially the event which led me to thinking about my negativity. I was at a party about 5 years ago. So somebody said, have you seen that Nike commercial with William Burroughs? What do you think of it? Now, I had seen the commercial, in fact. It was distressing to me that a huge sneaker company could go, hey, look at that guy. He used to be a junkie. He shot his wife. Buy our sneakers. I think the truth is that, to me, it was such a no-brainer that I just thought I'd let somebody else express it, and I just nod my head. And then somebody, a handsome, happy, positive young man, said, oh, I think it's cool. And there was a moment, and then a bunch of heads started nodding in this crowd of 15 people, and after 30 seconds, everybody's going, yeah, I think it's cool too. Yeah, everybody thought it was cool. This left me somewhat aghast. So somebody focused on me and said, oh, what, you don't think it's cool? And I said, well, no, actually. I think it's vaguely frightening. At which point, I could see the expression on each of their faces changing. They were all looking at me suddenly like, that's sad. That's sad that you're negative about a commercial. That's sad that you don't think it's cool like we do. What's wrong with you? I saw them all do that, and then they all turned their back on me. Now, the thing is, the way I described their reaction, it sounds a bit like a dream. And in fact, that's what it felt like, because I'd never seen that happen before. And afterwards, I started to think, maybe that's been happening all my life. Did I have to fight that battle? Maybe it's just a commercial, and it's no big deal. So you do have the quality of being one button push away from a rant.
Yeah, I am. Often, yes.
Yes.
I'm more of a loose cannon, I think. It's just hard to know what to expect. I'm an intentional, eccentric. I could put on two of the same socks every day if I want. I mean, I've always worn two different socks, always. The fact that wearing two different socks provokes a reaction like it does is what, one, keeps me doing it more, and two, amazes and astounds me. Like, that's a deal. Like, what?
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'm reminded of how little different you have to be
Different. Oh shit! This qualifies as something seriously weird. If I was going to be real and I was going to be truthful, I would have to acknowledge that I'm wearing something funny and strange. Actually, I like the way I look in this, though.
I don't really have a censor button. I think that's probably my problem. And, it's probably what makes me good, but it also gets me into a lot of trouble because I never did. And if I have something, there's something that I want to say, even though I might think that it's something that it cannot possibly be voiced, I just know that I'll eventually do it. And I wish I wasn't like that. I think it'd be a lot easier life to not be like that. But ever since I was little, I've always been like, my mother would always just say to me, why don't you just shut up? Why do you have to tell everything that you're thinking? I think deep down, I think that I'm pretty sure I'm a good person. So I just assume that people will sense that and that I won't get into too much trouble, which to me always means being, jailed or, it seems like if I really wanted to be liked by everybody, I wouldn't do that. And yet I do really want to be liked by people. So it's quite a war.
Early on, you said something about having negative charisma.
Yeah.
What is that?
I define negative charisma as meaning that I can walk across a crowded room in which I know no one and no one knows me, and already 10 people hate me. I was a kind of fairly prototypical, embittered loser, kind of, for a while. It became such a source of sort of energy that I worried that if I did kind of achieve some modicum of success, that I would mellow out and sort of lose that source of energy. Come in! Come in! Oh, fuck, it's room service.
Nobody likes to be the oddball at school. Nobody likes to be, the screw-up amongst a group of friends. Nobody likes to be the guy who keeps losing jobs because he keeps pissing people off. And the company of other loners is, well, mixed blessing at best. Reveling in the scale and awfulness of the godless universe. Whoopee! Isn't that just fucking great? I mean, it's no fun to be around happy people either. I mean, that's sick-making. But it's just something just as awful about a bunch of people who's, don't like themselves, don't like the world, and you can't help but suspect, just out of a sense of thoroughness, don't even like each other very much, except that no one else will hang out with them, so.
I worry a lot about being perceived as negative. I mean, you go out to a party and you shoot your mouth off about how you hate, being bombarded with commercials all the time, everywhere you go. And then you find out that the guy across from you is a jingle writer. That's what he does. That's his profession and his bread and butter, and you're sitting there just lambasting the whole, corporate mob and their, stooges and Confederates and how, they're ruining your life. And then, it's just like you see the looks on people's faces like, we don't get you, what's your problem with that? I find myself in social situations being a bit of a self-censor because I don't want to come off as negative. But it sets me up for a bit of an internal dilemma because I also don't think that what I am about to say is negative. So it's kind of an awkward game that keeps me in the house a lot.
Last night I was watching a couple of biographical portraits on TV of Bob Hope. But I gotta tell you, these skirts today are getting shorter and shorter, How many times has Bob Hope told jokes about mini skirts getting shorter? And yet here he was in Vietnam doing a joke for the soldiers, which involved mini skirts. And then I thought, well, I bet he brought some nice moments of relief to those poor kids who had to be in Vietnam. The other thing that this makes me think about is, if I have to categorize them, what are the things that have bothered me, made me angry, all the things that made me go, oh, that's crap, oh, that's crap. 3 categories of things which made me a cranky, negative, bitter person. Popular culture and all its crap, category 1. Category 2 is how my life did not go the way I wanted it to. Category 3 is, like man's inhumanity to man, lack of charity and lack of kindness and lying and phoniness and cowardliness, all the stupid things done in the name of religion and patriotism, war, pestilence, violence and mistreatment and pollution, alienation, stupid people, all the horrible things in the world. Yeah, all that. But the question is, what actually, actively did bother me? What on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute, moment-to-moment basis got my goat more? The war or the bad jokes Bob Hope told at the war? Well, I think it's the bad Bob Hope jokes. Though the big bad things in the world fuel my negativity here and there, the little bad things in the world are the true engine.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, I would say that one of the major fuels for this engine, if it is an engine, is the fact that there's almost no way to get out of this. Like, for instance, I could be up here by myself. I'm in a fairly secluded place. So maybe I'll calm down a bit. Maybe I'll feel pretty good. Maybe I'll start to think about things that I could do to make at least my own existence somewhat better. And the next thing you know, a fucking jet ski will go by. It'll go running up this fucking channel here at about, 40 miles an hour. And some asshole will be on it. And I'll run out to the dock and I'll yell at him. But of course, he can't hear me because he's on his fucking jet ski. Why do these things even exist? And, that's another thing. I mean, why? There's many worse things than that in the world, but they're all structurally identical to that.
Somebody will say something or think a certain way, and they'll just say one thing that's like wrong for me, and it'll just be like, you can't be my friend. The best example I can think of is the whole "it's all good" thing. When I hear it, it just makes me sick. I guess I first heard that expression when I was in university. I was talking to this girl. She was really cute. I was like, oh, what a cute girl. And then she started talking about how she was going to flunk out of school, right? And how, her parents had paid for everything, and she was flunking out of school. And she said, but you know what? It's all good. In a way, I really resent people who say it because they just seem totally fucking guiltless to me.
Right.
And that drives me insane. Because if that had happened to me, I would feel really fucking bad about that. I wouldn't think it was even okay. And in a way, it's gotten to a point where I just think I'm going to, run into someone who's going to tell me, yeah, I've got cock cancer, but it's all good.
I know somebody right now. She does this whole positive energy thing. Positive, positive, positive. I know I'm going to get this job. I'm only going to go for 2 interviews. I'm not going to go for the 4, and blah, blah, blah. Well, next time I called her, she went for the 4th one. And she didn't get it. And she told me that she cried for 24 hours. But she puts a limit on how long she's going to feel bad and negative. So in 24 hours, she started the positive thing again. And then her relationship broke up, and she said, I'm only going to give myself 2 days to feel bad, and then I'm starting dating again. I find it incredibly irritating, I have to tell you. There's no vulnerability.
Do your friends ever tell you, don't write such sad songs?
Yeah, I mean, my friends, my parents, every journalist, you know, who sits there and says, like, especially the British press, who go on about, like, I'm a miserabilist. They made up a word. I did this interview, and the poor fucker said, you know, is the show going to be really sad? You know, lots of sad songs. I was like, fuck you. Fucking like Christina Aguilera, who has the heart of a goddamn lizard, who that's not sad, that doesn't make you depressed. It's the new America. If you're an artist, it's like you better be all part of self-promotion, and you better want to be out there, and you want to be a bigger whore than you were before, because that's what the current climate is. We're all whores. If you don't have anything to sell, fuck off. If you're old, if you're, you know, sick, if you're a little odd, if you're anything that isn't going towards the middle, fuck off.
I mean, it's like there's this level of information that we are bombarded with all the time that you can't avoid, which is completely asinine and stupid and heinous and revolting, and why the fuck are we paying attention to these things that are just so stupid? I mean, I remember, I have this perfect example for me, perfect example. Time magazine was the news magazine growing up, you know, it's like, that's how my family learned about news. And like, I remember seeing the cover of Time magazine the same week as the cover of The Economist, like a few months ago. This is right when Pim Fortuyn in the Netherlands was assassinated. And The Economist had this picture of Pim Fortuyn, very somber, 2 candles burning in front of it, and it said, "How sick is Europe?" And then the cover of Time magazine was, "Spider-Man rules!" With a picture of Spider-Man ruling. Okay, you know, on some level, you know, I'm all for the fundamental human need to zone out, but Christ, you know, it's like, I only think that's because, you know, most people get so desensitized to life they fall asleep. And they go to sleep, and then the whole thing is about this, you know, protective womb of like things that reinforce how small and stupid you are, which are comforting, you know, and it's sort of like, as opposed to like, anything that challenges you, anything that presses you out, anything that encourages or inspires you to let your freak flag fly is no longer encouraged in our society. They want you to be a fucking drone.
Christians who eat at McDonald's and listen to Celine Dion music and go to see Bringing Down a House because everybody says it's good, those people, I think, are happy.
Oh, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. I think it's just a big facade. I mean, I know, I'm a homeopathic physician. I know. People close the door to my office, and the perkiest people in the world, I hate to tell you this, but they're really not. The things that I hear are, I like to kill my husband in his sleep. Sometimes I watch him. If I hear him snore one more time, sometimes I think I'm gonna jump out the window. I mean, you know this.
No, I don't know. No, I know that they have.
They just really aren't. It's just a big facade. No one is like that.
Americans are wishful people. You know, really wishful. You know, and they don't know the difference between wishing and thinking. You hear people say things like, well, you know, I think everything's going to be okay now. No, everything's never going to be okay.
Right.
Here's what everything's going to be okay. Never.
You get up in the morning, you read the paper. Do you get mad?
I get depressed. There's a lot of depressing shit going on. There's a lot of stupidity in the world. People just fucking up everywhere. What can you do?
Are you ever optimistic?
Not for very long.
I went to a bar mitzvah tonight, the son of a friend. I liked being there for this family's celebration. I liked being there for this young man who I think is a swell kid. They had a short, maybe 20, 25-minute Jewish prayer service. And I was just bored, looking through the prayer book, looking how many pages are we on, page 17 now? When is this over? When is this going to end? This is nothing. Here's a prayer book that they use at this service. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can find that part. Happy are those who dwell in your house. They will sing your praise forever. And we're supposed to go, happy the people to whom such blessing falls. Happy the people of the eternal God. Then they go, great are you, eternal one, and worthy of praise, and infinite is your greatness. And we go, one generation shall acclaim your work to the next. They shall tell of your mighty acts. And I was just thinking, you know, this is so stupid. You know, one guy's going, God, you're great, God, you're great, God, boy, are you great. And then we go, yes, he is, yes, he is, yes, he is, damn, he's great. Like, you know, and I'm torn between doing what I'm doing, which is nothing, just not participating. And there's another part of me going, blah, 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 God. Or, happy are we who say whatever you tell us to. I will sing your praises because this guy next to me is singing your praises. I don't know who you are, but I hear you're good. You know, like, I'm not one of the bar mitzvah kids' friends. I'm the friend of the bar mitzvah's father, and yet I still have that in me, that bratty thing to, like, cut up things, to mock, to make mockery of, to call attention to myself. In my case, I think that to some degree, negativity makes me happy. Does your negativity actually make you happy?
No, I'm happy at times. It's not like I don't have happy moments. I think that's not the point. I think it's the idea that you don't become devastated by the fact that things are sad in life, that basically life is sad. You can't, and that's the whole, you can draw your happiness from that. I mean, I have a job that I take care of elderly women. These women, with their pictures when they were younger, they were unbelievably beautiful women, all of them, and they're unbelievably ugly now. You know what I mean? They're unbelievably ugly. Obviously, when you're young, you're prettier, and you have the certain things, you're much more happy-go-lucky. Like, you get handed things on a silver platter, you know, by men or whatever, when you first start dating, because you have a lot of power as a very young woman. And I think you think life is going to be the way it is in the movies. I was a single parent at age 18, and found out very quickly that there isn't really a very positive place in the world for someone who's trying to raise a child on their own, and that you're looked on as a failure. I understand now that it's basically a culture of positivity out there, and it's you're always just running away from the truth, and that's that you're dying. Like, every minute that you live is that you're actually moving towards death. So
that's the basic truth.
That's the truth.
Will you back up this quote? I believe people are essentially brutal, murderous, lying bastards who put on masks of civility to make society work.
Who said that?
You.
Oh. Well, actually, I'm a fan of Thomas Hobbes, and according to Hobbes, life is nasty, brutish, and short, and that describes me to a T. I believe that, and I also believe in the possibility of redemption, of altruism, of human love, even though I've never had it for more than 10 minutes. I'm cursed with the ability to see through the hypocrisy of daily life. And I'm also cursed with the need to say something about it. So I've made a lot of enemies, and I've lost a lot of work. I was once at a conference in, Memphis. It was a public radio conference. I'd gotten up and made one of my speeches about idealism and content and all of that. And then later we were having dinner with two other people, and one of them I'd never met before, but she said that when you made that speech, this guy, who I thought liked me, got up and said to his wife, actually, "Why won't that asshole shut up?" And the fact that he thought I was an asshole when he had pretended friendship and admiration was really deeply painful.
It's like, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself. Stick up for yourself. You know, have your own opinion, take your own counsel. Do not suffer fools gladly. Don't lie. Have integrity. Stick up for the little guy. Don't worry what the crowd thinks. What do you think? It's like, yeah, made sense to me. And tonight I was talking about, once more, about the boy who said the emperor has no clothes, and I was wondering whether perhaps I was away the next day after they taught that lesson. That night I, went out and played in the rain and caught a cold, and I didn't come in Friday. And this is when the teacher said, okay, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I'm never going to tell you again. The boy who said the emperor has no clothes, you're going to hear stories like that the rest of your life, and there will always be a little part glowing inside you that feels like that boy, and that's good. But if you know what's good for you, you won't be that boy. Is that hypocritical? Yes. Being human is full of hypocrisy, boys and girls. I'm not going to talk about this again. And don't tell anybody who wasn't here. Alan, no, don't tell him. I'm sorry he's not here. Maybe in his early 50s he'll figure this out. Which do you want more? Not to be negative, or just not to appear negative anymore? If you could only have one without the other, I would choose, I'd rather not appear negative. In other words, I won't be like, oh, that guy. I won't be like, oh, we had a really good time with you last night, but don't bring your friend again. Oh, you didn't like him? You didn't like our friend Alan? Yeah, he's funny, but he said one thing to my husband, Sandy. Maybe Sandy is a little too proud of his season's tickets to the Blue Jays, but your friend Alan didn't have to, crush him for it. So I liked what you said in that New York Times article about, like, the very act of being critical or saying no is on a different moral scale than... Can you tell me something more about that, or?
Well, ask a question.
Okay. Can you understand or explain to me why all the legends and myths talk about, the boy who said the emperor has no clothes, and yet doesn't seem to be much of a payoff for that boy in our society?
I don't understand the question.
Basically, if it were just an emperor with no clothes, I wouldn't give a shit. But to me, it's usually something really important. And no, I won't say that the emperor has clothes. Most people don't even know that he doesn't have any clothes on. And that's what irks me. Because when I talk to them about it, I said, can't you see what's going on here? They can't. They say, no, I don't understand what you're saying. I've discussed this with my doctor, and he told me the same thing. He says, you're always telling them when there's an emperor with no clothes, you always tell them that. And I said, but it's true. It happens to be the truth. Does the truth not count?
No.
The truth doesn't count.
Well, the truth, no, you just have to pick your battles. That's for sure.
Oh, I've heard that so many times.
There's a thrill in being in sort of kind of like just separating yourself from the body politic in a way, and just going, yeah, I'm out here alone, I'm gonna do it, and it's thrilling, and there's a price to pay for it, but it is thrilling. Well, it's like me in Philadelphia. I think it's one of the worst films ever. Not only did it not deserve the Oscar, it didn't deserve to be made or released. It's an abomination. I made a comment in Time magazine, and I totally went away from the gay mainstream, right? And I basically drew the line with, I'm an individual, I'm an iconoclast, I will not be held to anybody's agenda. And I said that Tom Hanks, on his deathbed, looks like most people on a bad hair day.
And I think that was the end of my career. Not, I think it was in many, not my career, that sounds way too grand, but I really think a lot of people noticed that and went, okay, we're not helping this one out. He's not along for the ride.
I'm at an office every day, and I'm the outspoken guy. I'm the loudmouth. I'm the one who, and this is something that, you talk about things that bug you, something that always bugs me when people say it to me, and they say it a lot. Tell us how you really feel, Rick, when I'm, in the middle of a rant. Tell us how you really feel.
That's a good one.
And they use it all the time. Seriously, it's the standard line. It's the way of sort of, tugging on your shirt and saying, you're doing it, you're off again. Tell us how you really feel. Nice, gentle reminder that you're frothing. You're on a tear. You're getting out of control, my friend. You're gonna hurt someone's feelings.
I get exceptionally hostile when I'm constantly cross-examined for my beliefs. I don't go around asking other people about theirs, and yet somehow they feel the need to challenge me on everything. I'm totally willing to listen to other people's opinions on things. But if you just ask me, oh, well, don't you like so-and-so? Well, that's really not like an argument. You just keep asking me the same stupid question, but just in a different manner. Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? Well, why don't you like this? Well, give me something more to work with.
Right.
Give me a reason to like it other than that you like it.
Right.
Yeah, some people like to rant and rave, hear their own voice. Either that or you're just stubborn, you think your opinion is the one that matters, and everyone else is just blinded by stupidity. For instance, if I was coming out of the theater and someone asked me about a movie and I truly thought it was awful, not only would I say it was a piece of shit, but I would probably go on to explain for the next hour and a half, even though they would hate to hear this, exactly why I thought it was shit. But that doesn't matter whether they're really paying attention. It's the fact that you're venting. That's the most important thing. You're getting it out. Trying to fight the cancers, get the poison out, get the poison out. What they don't like about you is what they expect from you, though. And if you don't give it to them, then they have no need for you any longer.
Exactly.
So what are you gonna do? Give them what they want, then. No. Give them the grief. I say, let them have it more than you've ever let them have it before. So this is what you want from me, right? Okay, I can give it to you. I've been saving it up for a while now too, so it'll really come out.
Have you ever had a moment where you wished you could be a conformist?
Sure. I think everyone has that kind of longing. The example I always like to use is Kim Novak in Bell, Book and Candle, where she plays a witch, and she's the most glamorous, kind of dangerous, kind of edgy, and very sexual. Put spells on men and whatnot. But, she says it might be nice to be kind of humdrum every once in a while, And of course, she falls in love with Jimmy Stewart. He's human. And as soon as she falls in love with him, she realizes she will lose all her witchly powers. But that's what she longs for, and that's what happens. So, I love that movie, but I always loved the first 3/4 of the movie when she's this glamorous witch, and then it kind of is depressing at the end when she actually falls in love and becomes a normal
and
heterosexual monogamous, wife.
Right, and is it like the happy ending is that she's no longer different?
Yes.
Oh no, I really do want to fit in. I really do.
You really do want to fit
Oh
in.
yes, if I could take lessons, like maybe there's a school for how to act average, I would be the first student. Oh yes, I would. I do. Absolutely. If I could be absolutely unnoticeable, like somebody that nobody pays any attention to and be very average and have a very average life, I would give one of my limbs.
Well, okay. Just from what you're describing, I can tell you how to do that very easily. Just shut up. That's how you can do it. Like, obviously, you say things, then they notice you. Don't say anything, then they won't.
One of the jobs I had in my 30s was driving on films, to make ends meet, or to, wait around for my big break. One of the jobs we referred to as dumping a Winnie. What that meant was, there's a toilet facility in the Winnebago, and waste accumulates in the holding tanks of the Winnebago, and eventually we have to go dump the waste from the holding tanks. So you had to drive the Winnebago to a certain spot. You had to then, go get this crowbar, open this gigantic manhole that just was the deepest, darkest hole I've ever seen. And then you had to position the pipe that came off the waste tank over the hole. And then at a certain point, when you felt like you positioned it right, you pull the lever and all the waste comes flowing out down into the hole. Now, it was a more complicated job than it seems because, you had to take into account the different trajectories of the waste, because when you first opened it, it would come gushing out and would go far. But then later, when it started dripping, it would just pretty well go straight down. Okay, now, the thing is that when I say that the second act of my life has there are a lot of factors that sort of came together and created this kind of inevitable, dark, bitter spiral down. You could think about that, about dumping the Winnies. Like, when I was there at the waste disposal site, I was not thinking, oh, fuck, look at me. Back on the set, there's, directors and all these people making a movie, and I wanted to make movies, and how'd I end up here pulling a lever so that, a bunch of talent shit can be, dumped down some giant hole. I didn't think that. It didn't make me feel sorry for myself or make me feel bitter. But I did get bitter during that period. It's not exactly like this, but it's sort of like every day you go out and you drive a Winnebago to this giant hole in the ground, pull the lever and dump the shit out. And you're like, well, that's fine because this is all leading to this goal. Then one day you go, okay, here's my project. Let's do it. And they go, sorry, no. And then it's like, what? Like, what was all that for then? It's like, what was all that for? You made money, man. That's your job. You're good at it. You're good at dumping shit out of Winnebagos. Maybe that's what you should be doing. I mean, of course, nobody ever said that. But in the middle of the night, alone, maybe that's what you'd start to hear.
At 20, you're completely self-confident and you know you're going to be successful. At 35, you're beginning to have your doubts, but you're not a quitter, and there's still, you can change your ways or be better. You can still get better. At 50, you have no alternative. Because what am I going to do? What's my resume look like now, right? You give up, right?
Right. Why didn't...
Should we have given up? You referred to it once as a 25-year failed experiment.
Right.
Which always stuck to me. Like something sticky and ugly, right? Because it seems true. And it seems true applied to me. It's like, the experiment's over. It didn't work. The nature of the business is you have to be positive. You pick up the phone to call somebody who may hire you, and you say, hi, I'm a photographer. I'd like to show you my work because I think that you could use my work. And I would like to I'd like to work with you. It's a simple thing, unless you feel like, hi, I'm a 50-year-old photographer, and I'm not working, and I need some work, and I know you probably got people that you work, that you hire all the time, but I need the work. Can you look at my book?
Right.
And so you sit by the phone and go, okay, I got to get out of this frame of mind. And you never do, or I never do.
But I have to say that when I say that nobody told me it would be this hard, well, really, I think they did tell me. I think the stories of bitter, unsuccessful artists going crazy were pretty rife in the.
Right, but they hold a lot of weight through the eyes of a 50-year-old. But in the eyes of a 20-year-old, it says, yes, but that's not me.
Right.
Right? I mean, that's the nature. If you didn't feel like that when you were 20, there would be no artists. Right?
Yeah.
You have to ignore that stuff at the beginning. Otherwise, you'd never do it.
Right. Well, that's pretty wise. That almost lets me off the hook.
Thanks. I mean, you're welcome. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I guess I like beating myself up or something a bit more than you do.
oh, I like it a lot. I can beat myself up pretty good.
Who's to say why a person should be optimistic or not? And in my case, I can find a lot of reasons not to be optimistic. But I mean, in my shoes, a lot of people would be really happy. They got this movie coming out and everything, you know. A big deal. You know, you get up, you know, you don't say, I'm going to think about this, I'm going to think about that. Your mind just starts casting about, you know, and you land on things. And the stuff that I land on is very depressing a lot of times.
You know what, if somebody said, you know, you could suffer less, you could change your attitude.
Yeah.
Could you?
I don't know, probably not. I've been trying for a long time.
Have you had a hard life?
Ooh, you know, I'm not real happy.
Well, by objective standards, whatever. You worked hard, but you made a living. Thousands of people read your comic books and loved them. You got to communicate with them. You've probably been unalone more than you've been alone. Those are all pretty good things.
Yeah, you're making me feel better right now. I'm feeling like I ought to go up and embrace my wife.
So, are you afraid of your husband's attitude rubbing off on your baby?
By teaching the child that people are horrible, you mean? I think it would make me really uncomfortable and probably pretty angry if the kid at a young age picked up daddy's idea that people are shit. I don't think that's a really great way to be when you're little.
First 4 words, mommy, daddy, cat, and asshole.
No.
Is it true from looking around this room that art is your sort of buffer?
Yeah, art has been good to me. People have not been good to me, but art has been good to me. So art is better than people, for the most part. The philosophy I've been walking around with the last few months and telling people when it comes up is all I ask out of life is that when they kick me, they don't kick me too hard. And, you know, I'm satisfied with that. I've just surrounded myself with stuff I enjoy, and that makes it good.
Do you like people?
Yeah, I like people. I just don't trust them. I like them very much. I think the human race is amazing and wonderful and beautiful, but they don't live up to their potential, and they're violent, aggressive, homicidal maniacs, most of them. So would you consider me a sad person?
Yeah. Well, you seem sad.
Oh, you would be right. Like, it's not a big revelation. Yeah, definitely. I just think that there's a myth in general that everybody should be happy all the time, and you get rewarded for saying happy things. I think that if you don't say those things, then you're not considered as feminine. As I think women are supposed to be happy, they're supposed to be spirited, and they're supposed to be the nurturers, and they're supposed to be all these things that women don't always feel like being and aren't always. And I think that you get punished for that. You know, if you don't want to buy into the myth, then guess what? You don't get the carrot.
I think I stay in because it removes the hassle from my life, and I don't have to direct energy into dealing with that situation. And in the past, there was a level of, you know, desperation to connect, to have interaction and connection that was driving me to go out and pursue that at all costs. You know, I'd shoot my mouth off and opinionate and everything. And it was out of a need to connect. And I thought, well, this is how I'll connect. Like, I'll just put it out there and somebody will suss me out and that'll be my friend, you know. But it just never worked out that way. I actually felt less connected to people than before I showed up. And it was just not a good scene, not a good feeling. So I just stopped doing that.
Here's a story. Here's a very, very clear and simple little story that you won't believe, but I can get a witness to it. A friend and I wrote a pilot for a comedy series. We had a meeting with a woman who was the head of a division of the company that at the time was producing a couple of half-hour comedies. And the woman who we had the meeting with said to us, "This is very well written, but it's too funny." Now, here's the first thing. You can't say, "What?" You can never say that. I don't doubt at some of those meetings, in the worst part of my life and the blackest part of my life, I don't doubt at some of those meetings that as much as I thought I was doing my darndest to seem like, you know, a citizen, a professional who got it, as much as I sort of was trying to maintain that thing, I have a feeling that the impression I gave was of murderous rage. Okay, that last criticism, fine, but that's the last one. Say one more and I fucking kill you. It was really like nothing is ever gonna happen. There's nothing I can do. I cannot fucking please those people. That's how I felt. Why was I bitter? Because I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. And this was the most important thing in my life.
The truth is that before I did comedy, I was way less angry. I want to believe that you can do good work and have it be recognized. But once you realize how things work, then you start to say, oh, it's not just about you have a good idea and then someone likes it. You realize the reason why these sitcoms are terrible is because the kind of ideas that are bought are sold by people who have learned how to play the game. And when good things happen, they're by accident. People would say, can you picture your show in one sentence? And I would say, yes, I have a good idea, comma, and you're a complete moron. Every show that was sold this last year is about people moving in. You know, it's like this couple moves in with another couple. You know, that's the premise. A guy loses the keys to his house and he moves in with his neighbor. All right, this is a guy who grew up in Cincinnati and then he moves to LA and then he finds out, no, that's it. It's goodbye Cincinnati, hello LA. That's when sometimes I do get enraged when I go, how, really as a society are we that numb that we can't tell this is just terrible? I know why entertainment is so bad because the people who run entertainment know what the government knows. It's like, if you believe Saddam Hussein was behind 9/11, maybe you'll watch another year of According to Jim. right? If you think Saddam Hussein was an imminent threat, maybe you'll like Charlie Sheen.
I'm looking for somebody who kind of hates what I hate to explain what's wrong with the stuff that I or we hate. I mean...
I know. Me, sir, I know. It's like it used to be, like say the Greek myths would present, somebody who's the epic hero is going through these horrible experiences, where they're getting their arms hacked at and, their head chopped off and they're traveling through these, unbelievably hellish lands where there's, assaults on every side. And now it's sort of like, we have movies like The Karate Kid where in 6 weeks you can become a black belt and you can kick everybody's ass and you can get the girl, and it's sort of like, and, everybody expects to become the hero really easily now, after like very little effort and very, high expectations. Well, my dreams are going to come true if I believe in them, and that's all it really takes. Actually, this girl came up to me at a reading the other day, and she said that Julius Caesar, and I'm dying to find the primary source of information on this, but she said that Julius Caesar at a certain point decreed that all of the drama written have a happy ending as a political tool for control.
The only reason I think it's worse than it's ever been is because the means of adding to the inertia are just way better than they've ever been. There's no fucking escaping it. And so how could people not succumb to it? Because, let's face it, the alternative is to do really arduous work, and by that I mean think, and get no reward for it. Absolutely no reward for it. It's more fun to get on a fucking jet ski and bomb around a remote northern lake. It's easier. And if you watch TV all the time, what else can people do? They have nothing to do. There's nothing to do. You're just waiting to die. You go to work. What do? I'm in advertising. What are you trying to do? Sell, feminine hygiene deodorant spray. Do they still have that? I don't know. But they had it, and somebody was trying to sell it. Hey, your pussy stinks. Use this. It's better. It doesn't matter that it's full of aluminum chlorhydrate or whatever the fuck it is that makes your tongue, when you touch it, turn into, a fucking knife in your mouth. Fuck. That's your life, and then you go home and you're watching fucking TV. That's it. That's life.
If I see something that I think is wrong, I get up and say it still. That's probably the best answer to what you're asking. If I am in a group of people and something's happening that I think requires a comment, I make the comment. I make sure that the right thing gets done to the best of my ability. I was talking about this last week. I saved somebody's life about 5 years ago on the corner. This middle-aged black guy was walking down the street and collapsed. And I went over to him and I tried to rouse him and they couldn't. And then all these people were around me, all different kinds of people. And I said, could somebody come here and please help me? Turn their heads the other way, walk away. I said, all right, could somebody just please, I'll give you a quarter. Could you please go to the phone booth that's right there and make a call to 911? Nothing. Repeated active resistance to helping. Okay? How much energy do you have to exert to not do the right thing? You've got to use a lot of energy and effort. Okay. You have to actively turn away. Okay. It's crazy.
You're asking a kind of question that I would ask, but when you ask it, I have an easy answer. If you deny and repress every day of your life, that's just another one. That's your reflex. Yes. So
that's hard to believe. Your point is that they're good at it. They practice it. They live that way. And then this is what they've been practicing for.
Right. Are you comfortable dismissing 90% of your fellow human beings as stupid sheep? Because that's sort of...
Yes. I would like not to, but look, go outside. Look, turn the TV on.
Is there optimism that comes?
I was at this party during the dot-com boom, and some guy was like, singled me out because I'm a musician and because I have a name. So he's singling me out. It's this fucking kid, you know, and he's like earning $40,000 a year. It's his second job. He's 22 or something. And he's like, well, you know what? You think what you do is so important, but you know what? You just make another widget to sell. That's all you make is a widget. I said, widget? He's like, yeah. I said, well, how? Let's find a common ground. Do you try to seek out content? I've tried to use their language to seek out content. You know, he's like, I don't need to. Why? Why the fuck should I? I earn more than you. I do better than you. What the? So here the testosterone's rising, and I reached in and there was a convenient bowl of you know, those little crackers. They're shaped like goldfish, and they're wonderful because they taste very cheesy. I said, okay, here, look, widgets, and I crushed them and I threw them in his face. I said, that's your soul, widgets. And I had to leave the party. They made me leave. I guess with him, all I really wanted to do is have him respect something. Just respect something, love something, you know? His ambition is the only thing really he has in his heart. What good is that?
A few months ago, I was having a conversation with my friend, Lewis, by name. I said to him, you know, sometimes I think I'm too much for some people. You know, and then I waited and waited, you know, like, come on, you can jump in any time you want here. But he just said nothing, and then finally I sort of realized that essentially he was agreeing with me. All the voices that in the world that would tell me I'm too much, that would say that was too much information, you should keep that to yourself, thanks for sharing, you say too much, you talk too much, you think too much. I have all those voices in me. I have all those messages in me. A few years ago, I decided that when anybody says, how are you, to me, I should make it an absolute reflex action to say, good, very good, great. If I'm feeling at the lowest end, say good. If I'm feeling a little bit better than that, you know, if I'm feeling okay, say great. Keep it all in that narrow range. The reason I did that is because I realized that when, generally speaking, when somebody said to me, how are you? In that perhaps split second before I would answer them, my mind would go racing through a number of options. Was this a person who actually wanted an answer? If I gave them an answer, what version of the answer would I give them? How honest should I be? Will I have to give them context? Do they know enough about my past or my story? Intellectually, I probably always knew that the question, how are you, was essentially rhetorical. But that part of me that wanted to, like, you know, have a conversation, that part of me made how are you into an opportunity for a true exchange of, you know, a true exchange. Anyway, the truth is, ever since I established the how are you directive, my life has gotten a little bit easier. Yeah, that's the how are you thing is my best and perhaps only example of an area in which I succeeded in picking my battles. Get beyond the how are you, or, you know, if somebody says, how are you? And I say, very good, great. And they go, no, how are you doing? Seriously, how are you doing? Well, that fucks me up. I must admit, even if I'm doing well, still I feel like I somehow owe them some, you know, pathetic story, even if I don't have one. But of course I always have one. All my pathetic stories are still in me somewhere. And there's so many more left to live.
Okay, this is... My father told me when I was about 13 or so that he got laid when he was 21, right? So that became like a standard for me. If I can't get it, if at least I can get it before my dad did, I'll feel like I'm okay. Right. And to go 3 years beyond my dad was like, it just was like every day would be adding another black X to the calendar. You know, like another fucking day that Herb has on me. Like, how fucked up is that? And even the standard of like, I didn't get laid in college. Like, that's fucked, you know? Like, that's pathetic, you know? Like, I was in the Maritimes, I couldn't just meet some fucking girl from Moncton and like fuck her, you know? Like, I couldn't even do that, you know? I mean, if anything, it just made me bitter, much more bitter to the guys that those, you know, like the guys that were getting it, the guys that would like, right. I would see with this really great girl, like this amazing girl, and she's with him, with that, like the guy who's wearing the fucking poncho, man, like she's with that guy, you know, like.
Right. Impossible Man, overweight, over the hill, clinically depressed Jewish misanthrope, 64, seeks nurse, cook, sex slave, 18 to 19. Enjoy fine dining if you pick up the check. Allergic to exercise. Have no interest in trees, rocks, streams, or sunsets. Send photo and financials to foolforlove@earthlink.net. I haven't had quite the courage to put that in the New York Review of Books yet because I'm afraid of the kind of women who would answer that. I think it all really gets down to, if you want to be really intellectual and justify 40 years of psychotherapy, it really all gets down to my body, which I hate. You know, you should zoom back here now to get a picture of
I don't think I can zoom far enough back. It's not you. Oh, no. Well, I can half.
You get my big gut. I come from a family of overweight fressers, people who just love food. I was angry at my mother for a lot of reasons, but she stuffed me with food. Then she would say, well, you're fat and you're going to die and no girl would want you. Here, have another piece of pie. I used to run around grammar school proclaiming that I hated women. And I guess it was really my mother I hated. I didn't hate her, but she made me nuts. She wanted all the love and all the food and all the money and all the attention in the world. And so my personality developed really as a way of deflecting that.
When I was in school, when I was very young, I was extremely reticent, and I stayed well under the radar. And I think that people just didn't know to what extent I might disagree. And I had a period in high school when I fell into a great depression about it, because I just couldn't see myself fitting in. And my mom, sensing that I was having problems with all this stuff, she thought, oh, well, you know, you should go to modeling and finishing school. That will, you know, give you poise and grace, and you'll learn how to conduct yourself in a social setting, and, you know, you can go with the flow. So I went, and I went for 3 years. And of course, your ego is drawn in by the idea of the modeling thing, like, oh, people will like me if I, you know, if they think I'm modeling, you know, whoa, you know. And it was true. It was true. Like, all of a sudden, I became very popular. And then the punk thing happened. It was completely changed my course from that time on. For the first time, it dawned on me that you can just be who you are. That was just something that had never come up before. I think that people compromise. I think that they change who they are. Like, it's so much easier. And the only reason I don't do that is because there's something that's so stubborn inside me that just says no. So I know that really I don't have a choice, because if I had a choice, I probably would have wanted to make life a lot easier and not be
feeling quite as powerless and alone, and all the things that come with it.
There are a lot of bad things that haven't happened to me, okay? I suppose if I sat here and thought about all the bad things that haven't happened to me, they would just stretch out into infinity. But somehow that doesn't make me feel infinitely happy.
Could you put your head in your other hand?
Yeah.
Okay, but again, it doesn't make you feel good that you made something of your life. You made art, you communicated with people, you entertained.
And I'll be dead and it'll be gone. And that's it, okay? You wanna know what I get the most enjoyment out of? Sleeping. Falling asleep. You wanna know when I feel best? I feel best when I'm just about exhausted. Too exhausted to feel nervous. And I'm about to fall asleep. That's when I feel best.
I don't know what you can do. Like, I would say I'm in despair, because I don't think there is any hope. And I find myself in such a rage, hopeless that it's ever going to change. Like, we're just going to consume ourselves into oblivion. It's a lonely pursuit. People think you're nuts. People think you're nuts. They may not disagree with what you're saying, but then they think you're nuts because you're saying it. I hate it because I'm a fool and an optimist. So when the hatred is not there, like screaming away, I'm an optimist. I find life actually amazing. Like, literally amazing.
Somebody asked me for an article whether the world needs curmudgeons or whether they
Oh, it does.
serve a purpose.
Oh, they do.
And I said, really, the only people they serve a purpose for are other curmudgeons.
Are there people on the fence, though, who maybe can be pulled down, pulled into it?
Yes, I do think
So that's so you could do a little recruiting also. So that's not bad.
Come on, you guys on the fence.
Come on, rouse some rabble.
Yeah.
Get dissatisfied. I for the most part, shut up. People don't want to hear it. I've learned through experience, people don't want to hear it. People aren't interested. They don't care. I make my life easier, and I certainly make their life easier by shutting up.
Yes, but Louise, you're not here to make
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You're right.
people's lives easier or
Oh,
your
I'm
own.
not? I thought I was. Okay, well, I'll go out there and with a candle unlit and try to spread darkness in the world. I'll do my best.
This whole journey started, as silly as it may
Go ahead.
sound.
No.
This whole journey started with William Burroughs was in a Nike commercial, and at a party, people said, "What do you think of it?" And one hale and hearty, well-met fellow said, "I think it's cool." And I wasn't nodding my head, and they turned to me and it's like,
Well, Alan.
and I was like, "Well, it's actually, I think, kind of vaguely evil."
Sinister, right? And they didn't.
And
they didn't.
they were like, "Oh, you poor guy, it's just a sneaker commercial."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they're wrong and you're right. So maybe that part of it is you taking to heart some bullshit that other people said that's really meaningless and garbage. I'm not going to say that your entire journey is for naught, but I'm just saying that you may have overestimated the value of what they had to say. It's Burroughs in it. Well, God damn it. See, this is my button. I think that these people, being very shallow and very non-analytical, were completely mistaking the content for the context. Because the answer, it's only a sneaker commercial, is absolutely the wrong answer. Beep.
Yeah.
Wrong. It's not. I mean that's. I mean to just take it right out to the limit. That's how the Nazis came to power unimpeded. That's it. It's only a sneaker commercial. It's only whatever.
I mean, what was that definition or etymology of curmudgeon that we found? I think it was something like attuned to a low murmuring, or perhaps it was emanates a low murmuring. But anyway, the word murmur, as recently as the 19th century, had a quite specific meaning that it doesn't have really anymore. Murmuring was mutinous. It was something that occurred amongst sailors or other groups under some kind of rule, kind of bitching and threatening to overturn the rule. And that's the definition that I like. I mean, of course, there are all sorts of really petty, shitty aspects that fuel the engine, as you put it. But there may also be a murmuring thing that you're attuned to and that you're compelled to articulate. And you can almost conceive of that as a kind of noble enterprise.
Why isn't there an epilogue to the tale of the kid who said the emperor had no clothes? Like
you mean what happens to him?
Yeah, what the next day? Like, why don't they?
Well,
he had no friends either.
That's right. Or went to jail. You are right. I mean, that is what happens to you. But I think that that's implied in having to tell people to do it. You don't have to tell people, or you don't have to try to teach children or adults to do things that are easy for them to do. There's nothing in it for you. That's the point. All the things that people teach children, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. The point of teaching them to children is that virtue is its own reward. But there doesn't exist that idea anymore. In this country, there are no values that compete with financial ones any longer. There really did used to be other values. Character would be one of them. That was true. You didn't get rich, but not getting rich for certain reasons was admired. Now, getting rich for any reason is admired. The whole point of teaching children things is to make them less, close to nature, less close to their own nature. That's the hope, that you'll make them act against their nature. Which animals don't do. For instance, that lion or whatever it was that ate the magician, he doesn't feel bad. That's his nature, is to eat magicians.
Right.
Okay? Human beings are not far from that. And so when you have children, you're supposed to, say, I know you want to eat the magician, but you can't eat the magician. Don't eat the magician. That's basically what you're telling them. It seems to me now that people don't really tell their children not to eat the magician. They say, when you eat the magician, don't get caught.
I began my day today with a conversation about smoking, and it got me thinking. For a change, I was in a cafe. There was only one other guy there. I was smoking a cigarette and having a coffee. He was rolling a cigarette and having a coffee, and he said to me, what are we going to do when there's no smoking allowed in bars in Toronto? And I said, well, I was planning to quit around that time, so I'll probably quit. I've quit smoking twice so far. Both times I quit smoking, it was at least partly for the woman, the girlfriend I was with at the time. A little tip, a little piece of advice. If you're quitting smoking for your girlfriend and your girlfriend says to you, I hope you're not quitting for me, she's on the way out, I think. In those periods that I've quit smoking, even when I was no longer in any way craving a cigarette or thinking about cigarettes, I always had this feeling like I was playing a character in a movie based on me, in which that character based on me didn't smoke. I always felt like I wasn't exactly being myself. I mean, today when the guy said, maybe we should quit soon, even as I was saying, I am gonna quit soon, there was a part of me thinking, sort of, how am I gonna express that antisocial side of myself without a cigarette? It's like there's something pathetic about smoking when nobody else is smoking. But there's also something that makes you kind of like a bit of a pariah, and there's something about that that I like. It's like, you know, how am I going to express certain antisocial pariah, fuck you, here's a big puff of smoke in your face. How am I going to express that without a cigarette? Anyway, I think there's an analogy to this other change that I've been dancing around here. Okay, I found out that I was bitter, and okay, there is something kind of embarrassing about that. And I'm mostly over it now. Mostly. You know, perhaps I can quit smoking and make that non-smoking person sort of integrate that person into me. But I'm not going to try and integrate some positive person into me. Can you be negative and happy?
Do you plan to be happy? Do you expect to be happy? Have you ever been happy?
I've had moments.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, if you're filling out a questionnaire and it says, you know, do you consider your life, you know, 0 being completely unhappy, 5 being completely ecstatic, how is your life generally? Would you say, you would say 5?
No, I'd say 2. But last year it was 1.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe 2.5. I don't know. If I had a girlfriend, 2 3/4.
Oh man, if you ever get a girlfriend, don't tell her you said that.
Well, I know she won't solve all my problems, so I think it's healthy to just give her a 1/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't change. Sometimes we can take one obsession, say drinking, and turn it into another obsession, say Alcoholics Anonymous. But the fundamental defect that makes us need alcohol, or in my case, carbohydrates, that doesn't change.
For all this, what you're saying, you seem happy to me.
I'm not. I'm lonely. My friends are disappearing. They're either crazy, reclusive, or working themselves to death. The wages of sin that every mother and doctor have predicted, you know, it's happening. My eyesight's bad. Nothing works anymore. So I'm unhappy about that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm ambivalent about being not more than a curmudgeon. I'm a truth teller and a troublemaker. I can't help it. I can't help it any more than I can help having 2 desserts when I know, A, I'll eventually go blind. I have almost no self-control when it comes to food, money, or women, or getting up in a public forum in my profession saying the leaders are corrupt.
I believe that there are things out there in the world that I'm positive about. You know, career doesn't seem to be one of them.
How about women?
Ugh. I would like to be positive about women. I'm not that great at it, and you know, I don't know what the reason for that is exactly. Well, I guess I probably do. Just something happens to bad luck in the past, and when you have bad luck, it starts to color everything. You know, I start getting a foul attitude, and I figure it's best just to stay away, for them and for me. You know, the fact that I'm staying home is a choice I'm making. Obviously, you know, maybe I'll regret in the long run. I think I'm still at the given up phase. Everyone's trying to sort of push me towards the getting back into life phase, but I'm still at the give up phase. Sometimes I feel like, well, you know, I feel like there's a reason I'm doing this, and it's for the best. And then I realize, well, that's not necessarily true. Yeah, so I mean, maybe I've been at the depression phase too for many years now too, but it's a mild form of depression. It's sort of a copable day-to-day, life goes on depression. Right. I just figured this is the way I am. This is the way that I will probably continue to be, even if it's stupid. And it's something I don't know any difference in, really, I guess.
I can, with complete honesty, produce a description of myself that I simply don't understand why people wouldn't find that interesting, desirable, employable, lovable, etc. You know? So, because I haven't been successful in any of those areas, it makes me think that I must be doing something that I'm unaware of, or not doing something that I'm not aware that you're supposed to do, that completely undermines this fairly impressive list of positive attributes. And that makes me fucking miserable. It's not like I've tried to just sort this out by myself. I've gone everywhere that, you know, I can imagine going to find the answer, to find out how to overcome it. And you know, I haven't, I guess. I haven't.
I have this feeling that life is utterly meaningless and purposeless, and we're just born because we're born. We're here. Why am I here? Why am I conscious in this life? Who knows? Who cares? But at the same time, almost coexisting with that is this feeling that this is something very special, very sacred, very meaningful. This is, you know, precious. And that's where you become depressed, when you go to parties looking for somebody to support your theory that life is precious. You know, it's hard to get support.
It's almost like there's levels of how much people are willing to engage you. It's like I say something and people are like, oh, and they don't know how to reply, and you're like, oh, fuck, you know? Right. That drives me crazy. So that makes me more and more like, I'm going to try to push them until they actually push back. Right. I mean, I like people who talk. I like people who gossip, who talk, who reveal themselves, who are just pretty much like, you know, themselves. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, you know, people have a hard time falling in love or connecting with others because most people around them are like, just sort of, you know, there's always something funny they got to say, or something cool they got to say, or some reference they've got to drop, which is cool or important, or it's like, when actually, you know, everyone wants to really just connect and be happy. I just want to, tell me a fucking story, please. Tell me a good story, and I'll tell you one. You know.
About a week ago, I had to take a certified check to my insurance company. I had been depressed for at least a week at the moment this story happened. I just wanted to park and run in and be done with it. So finally, I just bit the bullet and went into this underground parking, even though that would be a whole rigmarole to get in and out of the place. And this is one of those places where when you drive in, the kiosk is on the passenger side, so you have to stop your car, get out, and go to him and get the little thing that says what time you got there. So I do that. I approach the kiosk, and the parking attendant says something like, you know, with a beaming, beatific smile, "How are you, man?" Something like that. There was something about the expression of actual caring on this parking attendant's face, and I said, I'm actually having a bad day or a bad week. And he said, I don't know exactly what he said, but there was the word God in there. Don't worry, things are fine. God loves you. And even as I was saying to him, I don't believe in God or something, this is going to sound retarded. A beam of light appeared. Well, I didn't feel a beam of light come down and envelop me in its warmth. But I imagined, it felt like a moment in a movie where that would happen. I felt my troubles for a moment melt away. Now, let me be clear. It wasn't about God. It was about that guy. The parking attendant would say that the love I felt from him is there because of the love of God that's in him. And I just think, okay. Some people that love God are lovely people. And it's probably lovely because they love God, even though they're deluded. Anyway, the immediate thought I had as I felt some of my depression and dissatisfaction and anger drain away, the immediate thought I had was, hey, you really did not think any of this was going to work out. Let's send out a little prayer of thanks. That a little bit of it did work out. It's almost like a miracle. Another thought was, in the last 6 months, trying to tell this story, I've talked to a lot of people, and I've tried to talk about things that matter to me and to them, and it was beautiful.
All right, everybody out. Jesus, Alan, I don't know.
You don't know what?
I don't know what you got here.
You should have known it from the start. I just fell out of something right into nowhere. I've got nowhere to fall apart. They'll be waiting in the dark behind some bushes in the park. I found some medical waste there. You're a